let me start doing something we do, all of us, every day. We take our phone, we scroll the news of the day. Now, what am I reading? NASA analysis confirms that 2023 is the warmest year on record. New York Times, last July was Earth's hottest month. Al Jazeera, global temperature record continues. Is there a solution to this? This is what we're going to discover today. But first, I would like to start with a little quiz. Can you take a wild guess on what you see on this picture? Let's give you a hint. This photo includes all 5.3 billion people alive in the year 1990. Indeed, it's kind of a selfie. If you are 35 years or older, you're on this picture. If you're younger, your parents must be on this picture. This photo was taken from a 6 billion kilometer distance by an unmanned spacecraft. Astronomer Carl Sagan, member of the imaging team, said, "Look at this dot. That's here. That's home. That's us." Indeed, this is a picture of our planet Earth. And exactly 10 years after this picture was taken, Amma was addressing the General Assembly of the United Nations, and she said, "Today, we are capable of destroying this blue dot called Earth. The future of humanity depends on the choice we make." So this drives us into today's topic, which is called Our Food, Our Future. And I'm going to promise you to guide you through a roller coaster of many facts and a lot of knowledge that you didn't know. But most importantly, you will come to understand how vital your food choice is for the future of our planet. So let's start. As we just saw, there is so much news about climate change. There are so many climate summits and conferences, and so many technical terms. Carbon dioxide, greenhouse gases emissions, 1.5 degrees, net zero surplus. What's going on? Let's study some facts. Our Earth consists of 71% of water and 29% of land. Now, out of the 29% of land, only 20% is habitable. The rest are deserts or glaciers. Now, if you take that habitable land, we take already 50%, we use it for agriculture. The rest are forests or other areas. And from this agricultural land, we dedicate 75 to 80% to the production of meat, to cattle, and 25% to crops, cereals, and vegetables. While crops give us by far more energy and more strength than meat does. So let's look at this carefully again. Look at the circle, the agricultural land, where the pink part is the land produced for meat, and the blue part is the land that we dedicate to crops. Now, this small part of land, this 24% of all the agricultural land, that produces 83% of our calorie intake and 62% of all our proteins. By far, most of our proteins and energy comes from plant-based food, not meat. Now, obviously, the world is not aware of this protein-calorie ratio between meat and plant-based food, because we are using the Earth, as we see in this chart, to fill plates with 75% of meat and the rest with plant-based foods. And this is strange not only because the meat gives us less strength and energy, but also because meat causes 10 to 100 times more CO2 emissions than crops. Now, a small reminder, what was CO2 again? So CO2 stands for carbon dioxide. It's a gas that absorbs and radiates heat. Now, this acts in a normal situation. CO2 acts as kind of a protecting blanket around the Earth. It maintains the heat in the Earth. However, if too much carbon dioxide is emitted into the atmosphere, it starts to work as a suffocating blanket around the Earth. It overheats the Earth. And that is what we're seeing today. With dramatic results. People in many countries in the world are migrating because there's no more water, because there's drought. There is extreme weather everywhere. In every continent, we find wildfires, drought, extreme floods, and there's so much loss of forests. But there's another world dilemma. I started with 1919 with 5 billion people on Earth. Today, only 34 years later, we're at 8 billion people. And it's expected at the end of this century, we grow to 10 billion people. And all these people also need food. So here we are, we're dealing with two major global challenges. There's huge disaster caused by global warming. And on the other hand, we have an Earth population that is growing and we want to feed them. Now, why is this a dilemma? Because what I already said, we dedicated already 50% of the Earth lands to agriculture. But humanity, in order to do this, already destroyed 1/3 of the world's forest in order to grow this agricultural land. Not only that, agriculture has a massive impact on the world's environment, of which meat production takes up the biggest chunk. There's 3 major impacts. One is that agriculture is the leading driver for deforestation. The second impact, that agriculture requires a large amount of fresh water. And the third impact is that agriculture is a crucial driver of the gases that heat up the Earth. Let's look into this. Deforestation is happening more and more as the demand for beef and other meats continues to grow. Now, why meat production? Now, one of the reasons is that for the production of meat, the effect is double, because you need land for the animals to graze on and to live on, but you also need land in order to grow the food that the cattle is eating. So that is double. The effect of this is that the wild enemy and plant species that we need for the survival of our ecology are losing their natural habitats and they get extinct. And another effect of it is that the very trees that are the solution to climate change, because they absorb the extra carbon dioxide, are cut relentlessly. Impact number 2, water is becoming a scarce resource in the world today. Agriculture requires so much water. Now, if you look at how much 1 kg of beef needs compared to 1 kg of wheat, it needs 10 times more of water. But even between the crops, there is a difference. Millet, for example, uses 30% less water than wheat. So here we start seeing choices that we can make. Impact number 3, and this is not as much spread knowledge, agriculture is a crucial driver of climate change. The methane gas that comes from cattle is 25 to 100 times more destructive than the entire transportation sector combined. So let's just sum it up. Cars, all the trucks, or the boats, cargo boats, all the planes combined, all the carbon dioxide that they emit is less destructive than the cattle production on today's Earth. Now look at the dilemma we're having. You see that the Earth is getting overheated due to all the carbon dioxide emissions. The Earth population is growing, which you want to feed. But growing more food means cutting even more forests, which we want to preserve. What can be done for the planet? That is the question we ask today. What can we do in this situation for the planet? This is why I want to look now at some facts about India. India, in this funny map, because it's a map according to population size, has 1.4 billion people on Earth. At the moment, as we speak, India has the biggest population on Earth. Not only that, India has the largest amount of cattle on the world, more than Brazil. India caters to 30% of all the cattle in today's world. But now look at the CO2 emissions per person in 2022. The world average per person of CO2 emission is around 5 tons per person. United States is emitting the triple of the world average. China almost double. Now look at India. India, with all its population and all its cattle, emits less than 50% of the world's average. How is this possible? This is a very important question. Before answering that, let us just compare these 3 important countries on the world's map. USA, India, China. Now look at India. India caters to India is on a land that accounts for 2% of the world's land. Calculated in agricultural land, India has 1% of agricultural land in the world. India has 18%, 1/6 of the world population lives on this land, and the biggest world cattle population also lives on this land. Both China and the USA have a land 3.5 times bigger than the USA. China has the same amount of people, but much less cattle. The USA have much less world population. Only 4% of the world population lives on a land 3.5 times bigger than India, and much less cattle. Now, what does this mean? This means that India has to manage to feed 1/6 of the world population and the world's largest cattle population, plus it gives space to 8% of all the wild animals and birds, on only 1% of the world's agricultural land. Not only that, India is doing that. On 1% of the world's agricultural land, it feeds 18% of the world and 13% of the world's cattle, and is even able to provide food to the world. It's exporting food. It does this without harming its ecology. How is this possible? This is a crucial question to ask. How is this possible with this dilemma that we have today, that the world's population is growing? It is a wonder. It's a wonder in today's world. And it's because of the way we eat. Let's look at how much meat we eat per person compared to other countries. India eats 3.5 kg of meat per person per year, compared to the United States that eats 124 kg of meat per person per year. China is in between the 2 countries. Now you see also that India by far eats more cereals. So what are we seeing? In India, we eat cereals and veggies as the main dish, with meat as a side dish. And this provides us with all the energy and all the proteins that we need. This habit also matches with the ideal Indian diet that was just released this year by the Indian Council of Medical Research. And this is a diet, an ideal diet that is common throughout the world. In the entire world, they see that this is an ideal diet for non-vegetarians. Now, this food style in India has also translated in the way they farm. So if you look at this map, this is a map of the farming lands. It's the global distribution of cropland versus meatland. So if it's orange or red, you see that the United States and the South America are mainly producing land or using agricultural land to produce meat. Same you see in Africa, in Australia, and in China. Now in India, this is green. And that is indeed truth, because India dedicates 94% of its agricultural land to crops. This is a very important conclusion. But let's take this a step further. Let's imagine that in India, we would start eating burgers like our American friends do. And this is not unthinkable, because India right now is getting richer and India is getting more influenced by Western habits and culture. So just assume we go for burgers instead of dosa. What would happen to our farmer culture? Indeed, our farming map would color red. But not only that, our land in India would not be enough for us to produce food for everybody. We would actually need 2.5 times the size of land in India. We would need 6 times more of agricultural land than we have today. It would be over. It would not be possible. Forests would be cut, animals would lose their habitat, and there would be quarrels between countries. Now look at one of the effects of this.
Heart-stopping moment shows a bear inside her home going straight for the kitchen. The bear's actually going through the freezer, snatching some food and then hopping out the window. Got what he wanted and taken off. Talk about a shock to see this on your security camera.
Yeah.
Did it like nothing.
Now this is true, and it's a funny movie that is circling around YouTube, and you have movies like this also from India, of leopards roaming the streets in north of India and tigers in Kerala. But why is this happening? It is exciting to see, but the reason that these animals are roaming the streets is because their home, their forests have been cut. They are actually hungry. This bear was taking lasagna out of a fridge because it was looking for food. And as I said, this is happening all around the world. It's happening in India. It's happening in Thailand with the monkeys going out in the streets to get their food. It's the bears in the USA and Canada. In my country, the Netherlands, it's wolves. In a time that we blindly follow all the Western habits, we should understand the following. If the world would change to Western eating habits, we would need 40% more agricultural land than we need right now. It is the most environmentally dangerous eating habit. But let's switch this around. Let's imagine that the world would change to India's eating habits. The effect of this is that the world would need only 40% of the agricultural land that we are having today. Only 40% of the land dedicated to agriculture right now would be needed to feed the entire world if the world would change to doshas. Our food style is literally a world-saving habit. Do we understand what our country can contribute to the world? India has the most environmentally friendly food habits. It has managed to maintain its population, its animals, and its ecology in the face of a world environmental crisis. This food style is the answer to climate change. We would only need 40% of the land. The carbon dioxide gas emission would collapse. There would be no need for any climate discussion, conventions, or meetings. Why is nobody talking about this? This is something to be extremely proud of. And let's listen to Guru Murthy, one of your great intellectuals.
We have only 0.13 hectare agricultural land per capita available. Then how are we managing? It is because of our food style. It is our food style which enables us not only to feed ourselves and keep us in comfort, we are also in a position to supply food to the world. How? It's not a statistical jugglery. There is a science of taking food. You go to Kerala, they have a science of having food. In Tamil Nadu, there is a science of food. Anywhere you go, there is a science. Food is taken on the basis of the traditional culinary formula. That our time has come. In fact, I only remember what Ratan Tata said. I will close with that. He said, my only regret is I am not 20 years younger. Because I think that India is going through a very exciting period in its history. I also feel I am 74. I don't know whether I will be able to see that India for which you all worked for 50 years, the India of our dream. Many of you will be able to see it. Thank you very much.
Now, Guru Murthy tells us here that India stands on the threshold of a very exciting period in world history. The same was said more than 100 years ago by Swami Vivekananda. Why is this? What is the secret behind this upcoming period? It's India's philosophy. Now look at the chain of philosophy. How does it work? The philosophy of a country sets the goals of life. The goals of life defines its lifestyle, and that lifestyle results in its habits. And these habits translates in our wants, in what we produce and what we consume. This is the link. India's philosophy, Sanatana Dharma, is a philosophy that embraces the entire world. It's basically founded on the belief that in essence we are one. That's why one of their scriptural depictions is Vasudeva Kudumbakam. The world is one family. Now this translates in their goals of life. Kama, Artha, Dharma and Moksha. Basically the goals of life is that you can do your enjoyment and go for your desires. You can amass some wealth, but it should always be based on the concept of Dharma. It should never be at the cost of others. This is a very important fact in India's philosophy. You can enjoy life, you can amass wealth, but never at the cost of others. That's called Dharma. And finally, there's Moksha. The lifestyle that this means is that there is reverence for nature, reverence for women. And the habits of this lifestyle is that the food that we eat is food that is good for all. Agriculture is actually a means to producing food. Agriculture is not a means to become rich. And what we consume is therefore more cereals and less meat. Our philosophy is embedded in the ancient text, and there's so many texts that we can look at, but I just want to pick out two sentences from the Puranas. Everyone should be kind, even to grass. Since grass is also alive, no one should disturb the grass. Or this one. If trees, which protect all living beings like a mother, are cut, then the earth becomes a hell. Cutting trees means inviting hell to this earth. Now, this philosophy is not only a philosophy, there's a science behind it. Why is India worshipping so many living beings? Why is India worshipping trees? Because of the oxygen it provides to the atmosphere, because of its purification of soil and oil. If you look at grass, it stabilizes the soil with its roots, and it improves its soil structure. Tulasi, one of the sacred plants of India, is medicinal and an immunity booster. The sun gives us vitamin D, strong bones, muscles, and a strong memory. Now, this understanding of the people of India and this gratefulness became their worship. And that's the absolute beauty of India. Why are we all in the world doing sun salutation or Surya Namaskar? It's a salutation to an element in nature that we are grateful for. Why is the cow sacred in India? In India, the cow, which gives us so much food, the milk it gives to us, is considered in India as part of the family. It's not considered as meat and much less as business. Why is the deforestation still less? And I'm not saying that India is perfect, because India is also changing. But why is the deforestation in India is still way less than in the rest of the world? Because there's an understanding that trees are important. We actually ask for forgiveness when cutting a tree. If we construct our houses, we try to do it around the tree and not to cut it. Now, this understanding, this philosophical understanding, also translated to our food culture. Now, if we look at three aspects of our food culture, what we see is there's a huge variety in cuisine. In every state, in every village, you have different dishes. But all dishes are based on two main things. They're based on cereals. There's a huge and vast variety of cereals, more than 200,000 varieties of cereals in India. Whereas in other parts of the world, they went to a one-crop production, and it reduced the variety in cereals immensely. But the other part of our diet, it is based on spices, which have different kind of medicinal values. Another aspect of India's food culture is that it embraces variety. There's non-vegetarians in India, and there's vegetarians. Yet, every citizen in India, whether vegetarian or non-vegetarian, and this is the third aspect of India's food culture, finds virtue in restraint. In India, people find strength in restraint. So even a non-vegetarian in India will sometimes eat vegetarian. Even a non-vegetarian or a vegetarian in India will fast once in a while. These are cultural habits ingrained in the country's philosophy and in the minds of the country's people. So just look at one food ritual, fasting, upavas. What are the benefits of fasting? Why do the people fast? First, it clears your mind, it increases your energy, it increases your calmness, and an improved concentration. It gives strength to the body. If for one day you do not eat, it gives a rest to the organs that otherwise are continuously working to digest the food that we eat, the much food that we eat. So it revives and rejuvenates during that day the cells in our body, and it improves our circulation. And also it saves the planet. If only for one day a week, or let's say even one day a month, we fast, it saves tons and tons of food if we would do this all over the world. Now this is the power of Bharat. You might realize it or not, but the world of the 21st century will look up to India in great hope. It's a matter of pride to be born in this country. Listen to what Sri Krishna said. Let's look at Bhagavad Gita verse 321. Yat yat acharati shrestas tat tat evataro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokastat anuvartate. Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, which could be considered a guide for humanity, he's saying, whatever a leader does, this will be imitated by other men. Whatever the standard a leader sets, the world will follow it. Two spiritual giants added to this. The future of India and the entire world resides within our youth. If our youth awaken, our future is secure. Otherwise, the harmony of human life and the entire universe will be upset. This is Amma. Swami Vivekananda said, I have faith in my country, and especially in the youth of my country. Arise, awake, stop not till the goal is reached. The question, therefore, the question I want to ask is, if you want to be a leader, if you want other people to imitate you, on what do you want them to do that? We have a story to tell, but this is not without a challenge. We have to understand that India exists in a world, and in a world where we have to understand the differences of this world. We live in a world that has placed its faith in immediate satisfaction. In Western philosophy, the focus is on the individual. Now, this Western philosophy dates, it comes, of course, from the ancient Greek tradition. However, in the last 100 years, it got a rapid transformation, which was called individualism. And individualism translates to different choices. The goals of life are also, just like kama and artha, are to enjoy life and to amass wealth. But the two concepts of dharma, which is the enjoy but don't do it at the expense of others, dharma is not a known concept in the West, nor is moksha. Now, the lifestyle of these goals of life translates in that my individual rights is the most important. The question we ask often in the West is, what's in it for me, instead of what can I give? It's a culture that places its faith in materialism and capitalism. And this also translates in habits. It translates in different choices. I can choose and eat what I want. It also translates in the way we look at agriculture. Agriculture doesn't become a way anymore to provide food to the world. It becomes a way to become rich. Not only that, it also, because I want to choose what I eat, this is the reason why the meat consumption increased so much. Food became a business. The meat production increased, but not only that, fast food started to enter the world. Packet and processed food has been flooding our supermarkets. It's easy to make, it's yummy to eat, it's not so expensive, but it's very unhealthy. It's actually a deadly habit. Fast food or packaged food is food that increases shelf life, but decreases hours. Let's listen to Palki Sharma.
our traditional food is our health food. There is no need to consume healthy fats from packaged foods when coconut oil and ghee already charge your home food with healthy fats. Why do you need multigrain cereals when homemade rotis are fiber-packed? Our traditional food has medicinal qualities. You may recognize this ingredient. It's turmeric. It is antioxidant. And this is cardamom. It has antioxidants and cancer-fighting properties. It also prevents cavities. Can you name this spice? It's cinnamon. It reduces cholesterol levels, also the risk of heart diseases. This is cumin, what is locally known as jeera. This spice helps lower blood sugar levels. These are coriander seeds. They have antifungal properties. All of these spices are commonly used in Indian cooking. Can packaged and processed food replace them? The answer is no, and I will tell you why. Number one, the ingredients are questionable. Number two, the hygiene is questionable. And number three, the packaging itself is often harmful. Let me explain this by using some of the most common packaged foods in our kitchens. Let's start with the ingredients. Most packaged foods have three common ingredients: preservatives, excess salt, and color. And let me tell you, all three are bad for you. Preservatives end up killing the good bacteria in your body. They can trigger breathing problems, also make children hyperactive, weaken heart tissues, and in extreme cases cause cancer. Which food items have preservatives? Almost everything that is packed. This includes your cereals, biscuits, crackers, breads, ready-to-eat meals, cheese, yogurt, deli meats, sauces, soups, everything. Ask yourself a question. What is the shelf life of a homemade batch of cookies? 2 to 3 weeks max if kept outside the fridge. Then how is it that your biscuit packet stays intact for months, even years? Because it comes with chemicals. Chemicals that extend their shelf life but reduce yours. Same with these heat and eat meals. A lot of us resort to them these days, and understandably so. Our lives are busy. There isn't enough time to cook 3 fresh meals a day, so microwave meals have become common. They've replaced traditional meals, for some people at least. In India, the frozen food market is worth $1.2 billion. You know what's amusing? A lot of these ready-to-heat packets can be kept in the room temperature for months. Imagine keeping a homemade dal or curry outside the fridge for months. What do you think would happen? Now imagine the amount of preservatives that go into making these packaged meals. Same with packaged bread, packaged cakes, and everything else that is industrially packed.
So knowing or unknowingly, individualism and its focus on our individual rights has deteriorated in a culture of taking rather than a culture of giving and reverence. And this is taking a huge toll on its people, on the animals, and on the planet. Therefore, Gandhi's response to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is so significant. He said, "If you change the title to Universal Declaration of Human Duties, I will sign. The very right to live accrues to us only when we do our duty of citizenship in the world." Individualism is not the way of India, nor is it sustainable for the survival of our planet. India's way and the way of humanity is Dharma, or Vasudeva Kutumbakam. The world is one family. The cultural orientation of India places importance in the subordination of the individual for a larger purpose. Now remember that I started the presentation with this dot. Carl Sagan, the astronomer, not only said that to look at this dot, but he also talked about the vulnerability of this dot. Not for nothing, Amma, when she addressed the United Nations, said, "Today we are able to destroy this blue dot called Earth. The future of humanity depends on the choice we make." There is a choice. The way we eat in India since thousands of years. There is an alternative model for the world. It exists and it's being practiced. It's not a utopia. It exists. 1/6 of humanity is living it. We have a choice we can make every day between the kind of restaurants you go to, what you choose to cook for your child, what you pick from the supermarket. Your food style is a choice. And it gives strength to live this choice in today's world. And people around the world have started to understand this. Now, I want to start with some giants of this earth, look at Arnold Schwarzenegger, but also some fighting teachers and gladiators, look at what they say in this interesting documentary, which is called The Game Changers.
The one and only Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I ate a lot of meat. They showed us commercials
Steak. That's what a man eats.
selling that idea that real men eat meat.
Serious man food.
But you got to understand, that's marketing. That's not based on reality.
I've been teaching fighting techniques to government agencies for more than 15 years. Then, I got injured. Unable to teach for at least 6 months, I spent more than 1,000 hours studying science on recovery and nutrition, and stumbled across a study about the Roman gladiators.
The gladiators were predominantly vegetarian.
Now these giants, these fighting teachers, gladiators and Arnold Schwarzenegger, these giants are saying this right now. Now I want you to remember the giants of your countries and what they said. Amma said, remember, the future of India and the entire world resides within our youth. Swami Vivekananda said, I have faith in my country and especially in my youth. Why are they saying this? I was actually reflecting on this after I saw this documentary. I said, what is the difference between Arnold Schwarzenegger and the youth from India? I think, in essence, there is no difference. That is the whole philosophy of India. It doesn't make a difference whether I stayed or whether you're born in India. But what makes it easier for you, for the youth of India, is that this philosophy is in your DNA. It comes natural to you. You've seen your grandmothers eating this way. You've been raised with heroes from the Ramayana and Mahabharata. And what are these heroes doing? What was their character? It was based on your philosophy. It's perfect characters that lift the philosophy of your countries. That's why your voice, the voice of that used to be the freedom fighters, which included many female warriors, that's why your voice is so important. It's natural to you. India lives the answer to 2 major global issues. It's happening right in front of our eyes. India is feeding the largest population on a tiny amount of land. And India's share of global warming is by far below the world's average. So it is possible. It is the role of India to inspire the world, not to imitate a destructive model. Remember that if the world would change to Bharat's eating habits, we would only need 40% of the agricultural land of today's land. We would grow back forests. We could feed the coming population. So let us not get confused about headlines that don't find a solution to climate change. There is a solution. The solution is right in front of our eyes. It's our dosa, it's our coconut chutney, or whatever your family is preparing at your homes. And there's also some answers in the Gita. This presentation was called Our Food, Our Future, and I promised you that you would get a lot of data and a lot of knowledge. Now our challenge is to live it and possibly to spread this knowledge. So, if this message resonated with you, ask yourself a question. What can I? What do I want to do in order to share this message? You can join the Teens for Green community by clicking on the link below or by going to amritateens.org. We will all join there as the world family we just talked about. See you there.